Oh boy, well I think for the first time in about 9 months since we started this build, I can officially say that, well, we're ahead of schedule. Power Tour's right around the corner. We're about 3.5, maybe 4 weeks out, and we still got a lot of stuff we gotta do. Old leaks, new leaks, broken stuff, leaky fuel lines, leaky oil lines, and well, still have a whole list of things that we gotta do before, well, we hit the road. So, let's get to it. Now I think it's officially safe to say that, well, we can get a official test ride in here without anything breaking towards the end of the video. But got some stuff we got to clean up, wiring. I've put a good, I have to admit, I've done about 300 miles on the T-Bucket so far, trying to break some stuff in, and still have not gotten a speedometer cable going to the transmission. So I do have that. I got our fancy seat covers that we're using for now, one from the boat and, well, one from the love seat. Now, on the motor, one of the things that I've noticed is this little oil pressure line hidden down there under the dizzy is leaking all over the darn place. And it took me a while to kind of figure out where it was at. On top of that, it's leaking, as you could say, in the cab, right down there. Now, the reason I figured, well, I saw it was leaking, well, obviously the obvious down here, as well as I got splattered on the knee with a little bit of hot oil. Now, one of the other little leaks that I've noticed, and again, I've driven it a good amount of miles, is the brake is leaking here on the actual banjo bolt. That is a new thing that just started, so we're gonna have to look into that one there. Back over on the motor as well, I'm thinking we'll probably go into the firewall here. We'll run that speedometer cable through, and then I got a nice fancy braided line on the workbench, which will run to the oil gauge as well. Now for the wiring down here, I figured we gotta cover this sucker up. It's gonna get kicked. Did wire braid that one's out of the way. But this one we gotta put a hard cover on. Others, well, it's gonna end up getting kicked and broken. So, already gone ahead and started on the 3D printer, our little plastic cover, which will mount. I do have kind of a little test fit. So I was able to put that on there, kind of get a good idea of the size, and then we'll print out a nice 6-8 inch one, get that mounted there. Now, let's talk about the trunk lid. You guys remember, there was a trunk lid on here. That trunk lid is gone. And the reason it's gone is I got a little dicey. I had a stoplight, I goosed it, wasn't properly mounted, and that thing just flew off probably about 150, 200 yards right off the back. It was crazy because I watched it fly off. I went to go turn around and somebody decided they were going to drive over it. So we got ourselves a new one that needs to be painted. Unfortunately, it's, well, can't really see it. It's damaged. Yeah, right there. And it's damaged in a sense where it's actually splitting apart. So that'll be easy fix with some epoxy and some Bondo. It is fiberglass, so we'll get that done. We've got some gel coat on it. We'll get that mounted there. So let's jump over to the bench really quick. So this is the oil line we're gonna use. We're gonna dump that plastic little nylon setup we got going on and go with an official, nice little high quality one and drop that one in here. Now, there is another leak going on, and it's a hit and miss leak. That rear diff there, that rear diff third member keeps leaking every so often. It stops, starts, stops, and starts. So I'm not really paying too much attention to it. The transmission's not as leaking, well, isn't leaking as bad as it was, which was absolutely insane. I ended up losing probably about, well, 4 quarts at one point. So we got that fixed so far, a few other little things, but man, where do we start? You know, I almost forgot to mention the obvious here. So in the last episode, I was kind of talking about how we had a little bit of, seemed like brake caliper binding when we'd make certain particular turns at certain speeds. And I started looking at this bracket in here that the caliper is mounted to. And it's tweaked. It's actually bent, well, it's hard to describe. It's bent inward, so I don't think the brake pad is making full contact, but then again, floating caliper is riding on the rotor, which is causing it to bind up on on turns when it kind of slides back and forth on the slides there. So we're gonna have to take this wheel off. We're gonna do some inspection of that bracket there. I was able to kind of secure the new bracket. I'm hoping it's actually the right mounting bracket there. So that's an important fix before we actually start to get on the road again there. Alrighty, well, I'm kind of getting a little ahead of myself, but need to make some room on the workbench. And I'm just gonna put the mirror on for now. That way we can get it out of the way, make some room, we can check ourselves out in the mirror, kind of see how we look. Super quick install right here, and then we'll throw on our little vanity item for as well, because you know we're dicing at the stoplight here. It's probably the easiest install on anything we've done so far here on this channel. Alrighty, now that the hard part's out of the way, we can jump over to this oil gauge here. So again, that other one was nylon. This one is essentially it's a brake line. It's a AN4 style brake line with the flared. So that'll go in the block. Now I have an extra oil gauge here. I actually have a whole set of gauges. I might actually do a giveaway, just give away a T-bucket starter kit, gauges and some other fun stuff. But make sure that fits. It's 1/8, and then that'll go in like that. Now it's really tight behind the dash, so I'm hoping that we have enough room to actually, it's not too much here, about 2 inches, but hoping we got enough room back there to actually bend that through, as well as the speedometer cable that's going to go through. So let's cut some zip ties. I'm not too happy about that, but we'll tidy up some wires again. I'm hoping we can drop in here and we don't have to remove any valve covers, or I'd hate to pull out the distributor too. Just don't want to. I want to disassemble more than we have to. Things are running, we got to keep them running. We got to keep them running until, you know, till June 10th. Well, we got to get through June 15th, and then we can start tearing stuff apart. And, all right, so we got that one out of there. That's probably why it leaks, is, well, there's no Teflon tape on there. I don't remember where I routed that. I think it's actually routed through the wiring harness on the bottom, so it may be a cut and snip situation and then pull it out. I'll tell you what though, that Florida heat is back. 100% humidity. It's only 80 degrees outside, but you walk outside for about 10 minutes and you just start dripping. Nope, we'll need a socket. Thought we could maybe use that just to get it started. Get this squeeze through here. Probably should have just done the 24-incher. We're gonna have some extra line left over. But I remember somebody saying in one of the episodes, I don't remember which one it was, they said, you're gonna regret using that plastic oil line, and I brushed it off and said, yeah, budget build. Well, look how this works out. You end up paying for it in the long run. Might need to get a crow's foot in there. Crow's foot might work better. Well, shouldn't be too hard to get this out. We'll say though, I know I've said this 1,000 times, buy the T-bucket with the door. Door is going to make your life a lot easier. Don't do what I did and try to cheap out without the door. Makes life a lot more difficult to work on it. Once you get the seats in and all that fun stuff, you ain't getting under here. It just ain't happening. Unless you're one of those professional Russian contortionists. Oh boy, that was a fun one there. Ooh. Just pull it right out and set it to the side. Doesn't need to come out all the way now. Let's see if we can make some just enough where we can get our 90-pound self under here. Just enough. Got to be careful though with the channeled body, otherwise you'll bust right through the fiberglass. Now our Turbo 350 cable that we're using here, it's actually made for a C10. It's the perfect fit for a C10, but you know, it was also the cheapest one I could find. So it's gonna be just enough. I did some measurements, and the C10 one for the Speedway bucket is just perfect. TH350, so it doesn't matter on the connection, and then standard GM hookup on the gauge there. All right, make a little bit of room here. Let me just take, actually we'll take all of this off here. That way I can get the drill in there. So I'm a bit of a sucker for these, well, bulkhead firewall fittings. Essentially you can just run everything through. And I've used a few of them. We'll probably tap a hole there. Probably should have used probably just one big one in the beginning if I ever do this again. Just the main one that we can go through. Alrighty, so I think we just slap that sucker right in there with some self-provided screws. Got that covered up, but we got to figure out what size hole saw we're going to use. I don't want to go too crazy with super insanely large holes in the firewall, but I also want something that later on down the road we can do some upgrading just in case. So I think that'll work out pretty well. Maybe go, well, I think that might be too small. Yeah, that'll be too small. I think this one's going to be pretty good. What size is that? I think that's 3/4. I don't even see the print on it. Oh, well, yeah, who knows? Good enough. All right, we got a problem here. So, got the drill ready. Was going to drill that right through. And well, I totally forgot our grounding block setup is right there. So we're not actually going to be able to cut through there. The only other clear space I really have is actually going to be right here. So I don't know if that's going to work out for us. Well, I want a clean setup. I don't want anything that looks bad. So that might actually, that may just work there. Got to get rid of some of this dust we got going on here. Now I won't be able to get that force screw in until we take the valve cover off again. And I need to make one small adjustment back here to number 6. I still have a little bit of clatter going on. Now we did the adjustment about a week or so ago and really quieted the motor down, but I've still got that little bit of clatter going on. I think that'll do us well though. So we'll make ourselves a nice little slit in there, run those cables through there, not really going far. And then we'll make the bend in there. We should have enough. Oil cable, I'm not too concerned about, but speedometer. Hopefully it's gonna not be too much, but we'll double check. All right, let's push that sucker through there and then we'll figure out what we'll do with it on the other end. And then for the Speedo, we just need to do a preliminary route and then we can do our final setup. Let me go right around the steering column. Right there, so that way we don't hit the flywheel. Flywheel, not whale. It's probably actually, well, gonna have enough room to go. Oh, there we go. All right. Maybe it was a good thing that I got the longer one. We just have just enough excess to connect it. And I did some Teflon tape here on this one as well. Make sure that we don't get any more leaks. So I'm thinking once we get this done, we go for a quick night ride to make sure all our wiring still works. I noticed when I was kind of poking around underneath the dash, little shorts here and there. And the shorts are actually in the LED lighting. Not anything that we did, but the actual, what do you call it? The dongle, the receptacle. See, look at that. I did work on this originally, and it ended up being an issue in the actual receptacle itself, but I may have to do some more under dash surgery, which I'm not looking forward to do. I want to make sure that we can turn this just right, and when we put this LED in here, it seems like it only wants to work one direction. I haven't mentioned it enough. Just buy the T-bucket with the door. I'm telling you. Now hopefully that works for what we need it to do. I'm going to get that bracket on the back. But what did we say? Underneath? Alright guys, so I think we're good to do like maybe a quick midnight run. Everything is pretty much set. I think our grounding issues are kind of figured out for now. In the meantime, I actually just kind of threw on a little tractor ball. Thought that was kind of cool. I don't really need it, but it just adds to it. This is all cleaned up here. Hopefully we got everything kind of adjusted, put together right. Got that running, all zip tied there. Adjusted this too. This thing has been crooked for like 3 weeks, and finally fixed that. So we're good on that. Now, about this mirror. I've been saving these for a special occasion here. And I think for good luck, we just, since I don't have a rear view mirror, I can't put them up there. I figured I'd just kind of toss my little dice right there. Kind of 1960s, 1970s tacky, but hey, pretty cool. Let's see if we can get this sucker to fire up. No idea what I did with the keys. Oil pressure works. Let's go find out if this Speedo actually works too. Wonder why that's twitching. That's a ground. That's that ground from original. We're gonna have to see how accurate that is with a GPS and see. But at least this is working. We'll double check to make sure it's not leaking anywhere either. Not liking that over here. Let's hit it. So I'd say we did pretty good on that Speedo and oil line. Everything works. I don't have any more leaks in the cab. I let it sit for about a day or so, and still got to get it cleaned up with some degreaser in here, but I don't have any buildup down here anymore. None of that, which is actually really, really nice. The other thing too is the brake line. It's not leaking anymore. So we know we're good on that. Let's jump over here to the back really quick. I did pull the rear tire off because we have some issues going on there, but let's jump over to the 3D printer really quick, because that bracket we started at the beginning of the video is done. I'm not too sure which one we're going to use for the wiring here. It's two different types, but it'll go right on our wiring bundle there, kind of like a kick protector. But we need to remove the old oil pressure line out of there because it's still bound up. Now, on this rear axle here, I was talking about the binding, and once I pulled the tire off, you can actually see here that that bracket and brake caliper is tweaked. It's actually pointed in towards the vehicle. It's hard to see, but it's pretty prevalent right from the top here. If you look at the side of the rotor as well, you can see that it's not making full contact. Even though it looks like the pad's on it, it looks like it's hitting harder in some other areas versus, especially on the back side there, which I think is giving us our little pulling feeling. So we got ourselves a replacement bracket, but unfortunately, I was sent the wrong part number here. This is actually for the front. So Speedway is going to send me a replacement to fix that. Who knows when that's actually going to show up there. So, but I think, I'm guessing that might just be our issue there. We won't know till we get that off, but this is going to come off, zip tie that over here, and we got to get down here into that bracket, deep down in there. And I'm hoping that just by, can't tell if it's this one or that one down there that's actually bent now that I think about it. All right, you know what? Screw it. We don't have the right parts, but see if we can bend it and back into place. If that doesn't work, then we'll just have to wait for the replacement parts. But I'm a little impatient. I don't want to wait because I got a registration appointment coming up with the state to try to get this sucker registered. And I don't want to miss that because you got to drive it to them, but you got to drive it to them without plates or anything. It's kind of weird. Snag ourselves a zip tie. Zip tie this caliper out of the way here. Right. See, yeah, you can tell from the pads here that you're not getting full contact. Yeah, you're only hitting half, and I think that's what's actually causing it, is that brake's actually riding on that. And they don't look too uneven, but we're not getting full touch, which we actually should be getting a full touch. So, and it's kind of the same on both sides. And it looks like there's also some premature wear right on the edge there as well. So, let's pull that off. Look what we got here. Yeah, that's completely just... Damn, let me grab the camera and show you guys this. It's pretty wild. Oh yeah, see? You can see how it's off. And it looks like this inner bracket here is actually the issue. It's a hell of a bend on there too. It's sitting... So I'm thinking, and it looks like the shims down here, I don't know how I didn't notice that unless it's actually gradually gotten worse because it pulled away. But I'm thinking we bend that one. And I'm thinking maybe we can just, let's try to remove this bracket here and then probably tap away at this one. There's no way to really flip it around, I don't think. But, man, I am just completely baffled. Oh, that one's a bit loose there. Yeah, 9/16. Let's get rid of that. Get one that doesn't keep moving. All right. Yeah, it's that one there. You almost can pick this thing up. These are torqued on so crazy. I wonder what kind of guy put these suckers on. But I should be able to get all of this out without taking everything apart. Let's look at that. Oh, Yeah, I think that's our culprit there. Wow, look at that. Holy shit. Well, let's try to bend that. Yeah, that's really off. I don't even know how I didn't notice that. I'm starting to think it didn't get worse driving it, because there's no way. There's no kind of force like that. It would have ripped the pins out for the caliper, but that's pretty wild there. So I don't have the vise properly set up, but I think we can get that just enough that we... Oh boy. Alright. I don't remember how this, what angle this was in here. About there. Tell you what, this was a lot easier when the axle was off the T-bucket there. Oh yeah, it's a lot better there. That bottom one still isn't seating perfectly, but pretty happy with the way that's going together there. So I think we'll be good. It's not as, well, I don't even think it's cockeyed anymore. I think it's actually pretty straight. Looks good to me. Okay, so I don't remember how I had this. Probably should have took photos. But I remember when I put it together, I couldn't figure out how many shims I had to use. Not like there was a lot of shims to use, but only a combination of like 6. So you could easily figure it out. Slap some extra grease on this sucker. So the bend is still there, just a tad bit. So we'll put an order in. Let's go do a test drive really quick, get the wheel put on, and we'll just get all that. Yeah, we'll just get all that replaced, I think. Well, let's do a test ride. If it's not causing any issues, then we're gonna roll with it like that. If it's still binding, we're just gonna replace this entire section down here with new brackets versus just sitting here trying to fix them. These brackets are so cheap, it's almost not even worth the time to sit here and use a $40 bottle worth of acetylene just to try to bend these. Let me not forget to torque this down like I did on the first test ride. And hopefully, well, I think it's actually gotten a little worse. I can hear it back there. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I've got a bit of a grind going on. Let's see. Yeah, I can still hear it. It's pretty bad. It's almost like it's like we made it worse. Ooh, oh yeah, you can hear that back there. Yeah, so we might just have to replace the brackets and whatnot. At least everything else is working for right now. For now. Let's see here. But yeah, I'm not too happy about that one there. So other than that, everything else is running fine so far. This one still just kind of baffles me. We'll get back over to the garage, pop it off again, take a quick peek at it, and see if we can't kind of finesse it and maybe fix it. Again, it might just be a full rebuild on that side here. Left turns are fine, right turns, actually left turns are loud, right turns are absolutely quiet, so no issue there, and then no noise from that side. Now for the longest time I thought it was coming from the third member, so we do know it's isolated to the driver's side wheel here. So let's put a few more miles on it and see if we can grind some pads down, see if that makes a difference. Well, that wasn't that much of a failure, but I think we know, or now we know, I think we know now we know what the issue was, I think. Tongue twister, right? But while I get that kit on order, we're gonna push that one off for now, and yeah, we're gonna revisit that. But in the meantime, I've been kind of juggling some ideas on how to do storage in a T-bucket. And I figured since we're using replica B-17 bomber seats, why not use a non-replica ammo can first center console. 762 blank, to be exact. There's no room in here, right? So we got to try to utilize what room we do have. So we're going to smack it right in the middle. The design has changed a little bit from when we first did painting of the bucket and did all the seat drops. It's not going to be as far back, but it may actually add some wanted support. That wanted support being that this is going to go right here. Well, we're going to have to wedge that in, and I can actually put my thigh against something and not have it hanging over essentially a dull razor blade. Because after about 5 miles hanging over that, kind of sucks. I like to stretch out and get comfortable. Again, we're not worried about the passenger. I care less about that guy. It's all about the driver comfort. Now, originally when we built the bucket and started doing the back setup and the seat drops, we were going to push our glove box all the way to the back. That way we had a little bit of space here. Considering that we added seat belts as a aha moment and said maybe it would be a good idea halfway through the project, that has changed some things around just a little bit. That being said, it's going to go about right here. Once it's wedged in, we'll lag it in, and then we'll have a little bit of a cubby back here to put maybe like, you know, our snorkel or our mask or whatever for, well, when it rains, because we're only rocking a, what is this, a 16-inch? I don't even remember what that was, but got to utilize the space that we have. So I'm thinking that'll be adequate to hold this sucker in, and I'm going to have to drill some holes in the bottom of this. And I've had this ammo can for a long time here, and I don't know how I feel about mangling it up, but it's going to a good cause. I almost got this mounted in here without the lid on it. I don't think I would have been able to get the lid on at that point. There was only one way I was able to actually get this to go in. It's about as far back as it's going to go. All right. There's the drill. Let me start some holes. Can you imagine all this hard work and this is one of the things we screw up? Oh yeah. Hallelujah for an impact driver. Now I'm convinced, I think out of all the things we've done on the channel, I think this is probably about the coolest thing we installed so far. That's pretty sweet. Maybe 3D print some little dividers or something in there. I thought that'll be good. Throw your snacks in there. Throw your gun in there. Throw some ammo in there. Maybe we should have painted. Nah, we'll keep it that color. That looks good. Now to the most dangerous part of the setup here. So I'll admit, I've run out of gas a few times with this sucker. And I blame it on that gauge, and I blame it on the fuel sender. Now it'll say that it has gas in it, right? But it's inaccurate as hell. There's more than about a quarter tank in there. So we do need to pull this sucker out. We need to trim down that little bracket, or well, the little stick with the float in there. I had a chart that said how much to trim essentially to get the right depending on your tank layout, but can't find it. So we're gonna wing it. Next to the battery. Oh yeah. That'll probably be our problem right there. The fact that it's not set up for the right tank. So, need to figure out our little float dinger there. Seems like this T-bucket is a combination of like 4 different sizes. And probably, let's hook that ground up. Well, that pegs the sucker out. So we need to do a take off. We'll probably do it halfway and then check it, but I'm coming up with about right there-ish. Pretty sure there's a more T-bucket official internet way to do this. What's that? No, my luck, this float's gonna end up falling into the tank. I'd say that is close enough. So I think our fuel gauge is just a little accurate, a little more accurate. I don't really have a test stick for this, but I do have a paper towel roll we'll stick in there and just check the level. Yeah, it's pretty good. A little less than half. And I'd say we're a little less than half. Not the most accurate form of scientific measurement. All right, so nothing seems to really be going our way, but we got a pretty extensive list that we need to still take care of before the power tour. So this sucker ain't in any particular order here, but we do need to get the parts for the rear brake rebuild there on the mounting brackets for the forward 9-inch rear. Got to do oil change on the third member, engine oil because we're about to be at 500. It's kind of break-in oil. Got to fix those ground shorts. Got this weird ground short going on now, and it's kind of starting to travel over to the voltage meter. Trunk lid paint, trunk lid mount. Well, I pulled the trunk lid out of the box, and it looks like a truck rode over it. So it's a little bit worse off than I thought at the beginning of the video. Brake pressure valve, pack a tool bag. I'm gonna drop a video next week on the registration. We finally got our appointment with the regional DMV head honcho. Valve number 6 adjustment, and then I think we'll hit the road. So I'll catch you guys in a week, and we'll knock out some of this.